Mr. Shatner's face is brought to you by the Michael Myers mask. Available where spucks last. Mr. Kelly's wardrobe is provided by medallions. Big ass fucking medallions. Space. In this context, a contraction of the words slow and pace. The final frontier is 4 movies from now. These are the Zoom recordings of Star Trek, the motion picture watch-along. Its 2.5-hour mission to bore estranged new subscribers, to seek out new gripes and new trivializations, to oldly go where no fan has gone before. Engage.
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast, Watch Along with Star Trek, the Motion Picture Edition. My name is Michael Shantz. I am from the How Dare You Awards. You just heard the magical Tom Steward from Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hi, Tom.
I believe the closed orifice leads to another chamber.
Doesn't it always?
Well, as in this context, Spock is right. I don't think he knows how right he is.
So we are dealing with the 1979 film Star Trek, the Motion Picture. We're doing another watch along, everybody. Tom, I guess my first question to you is, what the hell are we doing this for? Is this a sequel?
Good. Yeah, well, that's exactly why we're doing it. In the normal run of our podcast, we would never talk about this movie because it's an original. It's the first movie in the series,
right?
But it's by no means an original movie. It's the movie sequel it's the movie sequel to a TV series. And our first watch along that we did a month ago was the Star Wars Holiday Special,
right?
Which is a TV sequel to a movie, and this is a movie sequel to a TV
show.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's so. We're dovetailing with that, and you know, it's very similar situation to the Holiday Special, where you know people love Star Trek. The Star Trek, the motion picture, was a big letdown, and it took like a universally loved sequel, like in this case, Wrath of Khan. In Star Wars case, The Empire Strikes Back, to restore the reputation of the franchise. So I mean, for me, I think we're doing this because it is in this gray area. Is it a sequel? Is it original? So we'd never do it on the podcast. But you know, as we talked about with Star Wars, the Holiday Special, it's interesting to me, you know, how hated that is versus how influential it was to the series up until this day. Mm-hmm. And I think we've got a similar thing here where, you know, this is I wouldn't say as difficult to sit through as the Star Wars Holiday Special, but it's difficult. Yeah. But it's a difficult movie to sit through. But the template is there for so much of what came later in Star Trek. So it feels feels like a necessary rite of passage that without this, I don't think you get the Next Generation, because they're piloting so much that ends up in the first season of the Next Generation. But it's also, you know, this kind of movie version of Star Trek is just unsustainable. And
it's not a Star Trek movie.
No, it's like it's 50. It's kind of like it's a 50-minute Star Trek episode with what I will refer to in the watch along as moon boot leather. Just transitions of spaceships landing and docking.
Well, yeah, I clearly, you know, before we even take a step further, it is painfully, and I mean that literally painfully obvious, that this movie is trying to be 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, well, I think of it as it's trying to do Star Wars at the pace of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So it's
Okay.
trying to it's trying to kind of marry those two huge science fiction entities together, I think.
Well, here's the funny thing too, is that I can only say that, like, I could only have uttered that sentence I just uttered because I watched this movie at the beginning of quarantine. I,
No.
yeah.
I had
Uh,
no idea. I really wouldn't have done this to you if I'd known that.
so here's the funny thing. I saw this movie in the theater
Uh-huh.
when I was a kid. I was 8 years old, and
And you were
with
9 by the time you left?
yes, exactly. But my only memory of this movie is a bald woman and falling asleep. I didn't make it through this movie. That's it. That's all I remember as a kid, was not seeing the whole movie and a bald woman. And that's all I have for a recollection. And then COVID hit, and you've got nothing but time on your hands. And Epics, I think, was
Mm.
Epics did a very nice thing where they said, let's give everybody Epics for free for about 15 or 20 days or a month or something like
Yeah, it's
that.
like the world's ending, who cares?
Yeah, just go ahead. And they were showing all the Star Trek pictures, and I thought to myself, you know what's funny? I've never seen this movie since that day. I
Mm.
literally, that's all I still remember of the movie, as a bald woman. Let's give it a shot. And upon seeing it, I thought two things. I thought, okay, this is a much maligned movie,
Yeah.
and it earns all of that. It earns
Hmm.
every, you know, piece of derision that that it's received over the years.
Interesting.
But it's also, I don't think, as bad as people have always been saying it is.
Like the holiday special.
Yeah, I just what I was struck by was how much it's not Star Trek. And I think that's borne out from the stars that are in it, because they feel the same way. They all
Hmm.
were ready. They all were so in tune with their characters, so ready to take this to a bigger stage, from small screen to big screen.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be something else completely.
Well, I mean, following the release of this movie, Gene Roddenberry, creator of the original Star Trek series, and the architect of the motion picture,
But as I understand it, he also wrote treatments or drafts of a screenplay that Paramount said no to. So it
Hmm.
seemed like everybody wanted to do something else that they weren't allowed to do.
Well, yeah, and so following this, they wrestled creative control of future
Yeah.
Star Trek movies from him, and that was partly about mixed reviews. It was partly about the fact that, um, kind of unfairly, really, this movie did make money,
Yeah,
but
it
it
did.
the standard that Paramount were judging it against was, you can't just make money. This has to be such a big hit that we get back the money that we put into phase 2, which was the abandoned sequel to the original series
Right.
that Paramount had been developing and never happened with Roddenberry.
Well,
So I
this is
mean
how
that
this movie was born out. It was supposed to be a continuation. It was supposed to be another drop of a series.
yeah. So that's, I mean, that's a it's so financially, the movie has that working against it, that Paramount's expecting a payday that it could never really achieve. But also, that they're everyone is judging this against Star Trek, the original series.
Mhm.
um and so, as with other sequels, it's unfavorable comparisons to something that people really love, as really kind of holding this back. And
the costumes.
And the costume. Well, I mean, it's interesting when Roddenberry gets, well, you know, when Paramount let him back in to Star Trek to do the Next Generation, it doesn't seem like he's learned his lesson. Because there are a number of moments in this movie where he's piloting something that will be re-represented equally problematically in the first season of the Next Generation.
Okay.
And it's we'll see that, you know, we'll see them as they go, but you know,
point them out. Make sure you point them out.
I will absolutely. But it just occurs to me, it's sort of like he had a chance for a do-over that frankly could have, you know, if the studio didn't trust him at that point, so they're doing him a big favor by letting him back in. They nearly did Next Generation without him, as I understand. And this was really just to sort of say, well, this is your baby. If you want to be involved, you can come back. And rather than, you know, he kind of doubled down on everything that people dislike about this movie. You know, to the point where he's sort of saying, you know, I want it character-wise, tone-wise to be all like this. Oh, and by the way, no disagreements between any of the characters.
Ever.
And I'm just like, so you want to take out the one thing in this movie that really works, which is the fact that everyone's at each other's throats. That is, you know, that's what I love about this movie, is like, for a movie that is about this beloved cast of characters who were all friends, everyone hates each other.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, a lot of it's in the script. Like, a lot of it is, you know, I mean, Kirk is uber dick in this movie. You know, I feel sorry for everyone who is the victim of his
shenanigans,
his egotism. And that's out there in the script. That's not me reading into it. That's said in dialogue. But also, you know, obviously, you know, the cast didn't enjoy doing this. A lot of that cast in real life don't get along. I mean,
right.
Whenever William Shatner and James Doohan are on screen, it's very clear how much they hate each other, regardless of what they're saying to each other, and how friendly that is.
Well, and
I mean, this is not Generations, where it literally looks like the second they cut, Doohan's gonna punch Shatner's fat head. But we've got a little sense of that here,
right? And
fat head. That is not me body shaming William Shatner. Fat head is what is Doohan's nickname for Shatner.
Yes, I knew that. Well,
that's factually correct.
There was a point where this movie was going to be done without Spock, because Leonard Nimoy did not want. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, we'll find out in a moment, but
well, there's two replacement science officers in the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, they had to convince. Was it Gene Roddenberry himself, or they had to convince somebody, because they had been using his likeness for commercials and shit like that, that he didn't even know about. Somebody had pointed out to him, and he's like, "You guys owe me money. You can't just be using my face on shit without my permission." And them settling that got him to do the movie.
That's interesting, because I mean, it's hard to imagine this movie without him.
Right.
Although the screenplay is not set up for him to be in it in any way, shape, or form. But if you think about, you know, he's the Burt Gummer of Star Trek. You know, we're going to talk. He's someone who, you know, it doesn't matter who's directing, it doesn't matter what phase of Star Trek we're in, he will come back, and he will keep coming back.
Right.
And he will do this until he literally dies.
Yeah.
To the
Well,
point where there's an on-screen obituary for him in the most recent Star Trek movie, because we're like, well, I mean, he's in the, we've got to account for the fact that he's not here because he's in every one of these fucking movies.
Can we talk? We should get going on the movie, but can we talk just for 2 minutes about Robert Wise, the director?
Yes.
I mean, holy shit. If you don't know who Robert Wise is, I mean, this is the guy. He's got 4 Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
This man.
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Most famously.
West Side Story.
Yeah.
He's directed The Haunting. He's directed Curse of the Cat People. He's directed The Andromeda Strain. Run Silent, Run Deep. The Day the Earth Stood Still, he directed.
He also directed sections of Orson Welles' The Magnificent Ambersons.
Well, he's also, I think, director of photography, or he was very much involved in Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what is very apparent here is that, there are various attempts by Roddenberry to kind of minimize Wise's contribution to this movie. Because we'll see when we get to the opening credits how little Robert Wise's name appears compared to Gene Roddenberry's.
Right.
But I think it's interesting that the kind of, and this is a classic sequel inversion where the TV series Star Trek, you never saw space unless it was like a brief establishing shot that lasted like max 10 seconds. Here it seems like they will go to huge lengths to show you nothing but space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what they're banking on, is sort of like, this is what we can't do in Star Trek the TV series, is just have these extended sequences that take place in outer space.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's what this movie is
and
built
I guess
on
that's
effects.
And I think Robert Wise, as a Hollywood director, is there to kind of open up
the vista,
Star Trek. But I don't know. I mean, none of those other movies have that kind of pacing. So I don't know if he's necessarily to blame for how slow the pace of this movie is. I mean, you normally lay that at a director's door, but I don't think of Sound of Music as dragging. I don't think of Day That Earth Stood Still as a leaden movie.
Right.
But Frank, whoever's responsible, no one is moving this along when they need to move it along.
I'll say. But the things they seem to care about are the things they also seem to have been rewarded for, because this movie did receive 3 Academy Award nominations, and they were for Best Art Direction, Best Visual Effects, and Best Music.
Yeah,
and that's what this movie seems to care about the most, are those 3 things.
Yeah, and it's interesting, if you, because this is the year after Star Wars. 2 years after Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's obviously trying to compete on effects wise on that ground, but you get the sense that while Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic has kind of figured out how to put one effect and another effect on screen together.
Right.
I not get the sense that this like individually everything looks great. The Enterprise looks great. The Enterprise looks great. This spaceship looks great. The space station looks great. But when you put them all together, it looks like you're doing a 2-dimensional puppet show. Right. I mean, I just, it's kind of unfair, because it is but it's sort of like, as well, I think
I don't know that it's unfair. It seems to earn that.
Well, I mean, that's obviously it's still a big deal that that kind of spectacle is possible, but if you can't integrate it into something that flows,
right,
something that is coherent on screen together and is used in a way that moves the story forward rather than actually physically slowing the story down. And the script is hugely to blame. They go to these crazy storytelling lengths to take the longest way around something.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually in the script. Like, there's one point, we'll have to find it in the movie, but Kirk sort of says, take the longest route possible. I'm paraphrasing, but not much. He says, let's go the longest way we possibly can.
The longest way in space.
Yeah. And, it's like things are already slow and they have a slow motion gimmick in there.
Yeah.
They break the transporters at one point, so we don't have this efficient movement from one scene. This transition from one scene to another has to take place painfully slowly with a shuttle going from one spaceship to another. So obviously, like, the script is really at fault here. It's not like this is a aesthetic choice. This is something that aesthetically you have to work around.
I don't know. There's just some weird, interesting shit in this movie in which you alluded to it earlier. This movie made money. It's like a budget of $35 million and it made $82.6 million. Yeah. It got nominated for Academy Awards, but everybody, including the cast and the creator, like, everybody is willing to shit on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should start it.
I think so too. Just like as a final point beforehand, it's like, just to sort of set the scene, what they're going for here is like a classic sort of getting the band back together kind of story.
Yes, right.
Which is a very, like a classic sequel formula.
Very sequel, yeah.
However, this is coming after a canceled TV show where there's no like final scene where they're all like, okay, guess we're leaving the Enterprise. Our 5-year mission is over.
It's not like Undiscovered Country where you're seeing the autographs of the actors on screen.
Yeah. you know what? As great as that movie is, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful picture.
Me too.
The first thought that drops into my head when you mention the Undiscovered Country is what I am, without looking, I'm willing to say is a 15-minute sequence of autographs.
Yeah.
Appearing in space.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, and I kind of think when this begins, I'm like, you don't need to get the band back together. Conceivably, they could still be the crew of the Enterprise. We never saw them all leave and get other jobs.
Well, this is also the only movie in the entire series that doesn't reference or talk about their age, they're getting older, they're near retirement. Everything else embraces the fact that the actors are actually getting older. In this one, you're going to see the outline of a girdle for...
Well, I was going to say, I think the fact that they built Shatner's costume around his girdle,
right? Yeah.
I think during the series, there was a real struggle because Shatner's weight kept going up and down to like give him a uniform that made him look good all the time. And this time, I know everyone hated the costumes in this movie, and possibly because they probably started with the girdle. It's like, how can we make the best costume around this girdle so that Shatner always looks like normal?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then flash forward to the end of this movie, there's very much a sense of, the gang is back together. We can, the 5-year mission is back on. Yeah. We're all back on the Enterprise. I'm like, great, that's a great starting point for Wrath of Khan. And then you go to Wrath of Khan and they have to do this all over again. It's like, Kirk's disillusioned again.
Right.
Like everyone's got other jobs again. I'm like, oh, why are we doing this again? You did a whole movie that was just to get to this point. And now we have to do it. I mean, because it's Wrath of Khan, it does it brilliantly and efficiently,
effectively, all of that. But it's retread.
Bringing in those, like this, without making Kirk like look like the biggest douche in space history. we get a sense of
history.
like, oh, he's missing, he's missing this adventure aspect of his life, which is in this movie as well.
Yeah.
But he's sort of like, well, I'll just put everyone in so much danger that they die and I have to take over. How can you follow a hero in a movie whose main goal is to get his crew killed so he can be captain again? I mean, is that not the story of this movie?
That's the story of a psychopath.
Anyway, we should get this stuff. But yeah, I just think it's that, that this movie had one job, which was to get everyone back together. And that job was neither necessary nor done.
And without further ado, we should present Star Trek, the motion picture. So everybody get your nightcaps on.
Be prepared for time to move slower than it's ever moved before.
Have your smelling salts ready. Well, we're gonna have loud claps at certain moments. We're gonna tell you to wake up.
Yeah.
And let's get it started, should we, Tom?
Yeah, let's do a countdown. I'm ready to go whenever you are.
I am as well. Here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, Star Trek, the motion picture, the 1979 Borfest? We'll find out.
Borgfest.
I
wish. We have to wait another fucking 20 years for that.
There's a whole thing where Leonard Nimoy ended up connecting this movie to the crux of this movie with well, we'll watch the movie, but essentially Stephen Collins kind of like he gives birth to the Borg. They actually connect those things in a book. Swear to God.
It's not one of those Shatner books where he brings himself back to life, is it?
No.
Okay.
All right. Enough. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Paramount logo. Are you on Paramount logo?
I am. Did you get a general trivia come up?
Yeah, X-ray. Yeah, we're watching on Amazon Prime, so there's a kind of X-ray.
The cast hated the uniforms, which required assistance.
Now, don't be lured into a false sense of security about how quickly this movie starts.
No.
This movie starts faster than it ever goes.
I mean, it's got the music. It feels rousing.
This is the debut of the theme tune, the movie theme tune, which was later used for Next Generation when they couldn't come up with anything better.
Right. I know. I know. Presenting.
Well, this is interesting as well because they're trying to get around they want to say introducing Persis Kambata, but she's done movies in India.
Right.
So they're trying not to be insulted. They're trying to say, well, it's not her first movie, but we're bringing her to Hollywood, so it's presenting her to Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Gene Roddenberry's name is larger than Robert Wise's. That's worth noticing. And we see his name 3 times.
3 times. Yeah.
Robert Wise is twice. Hey. Yeah.
Sorry.
Here we go. Klingon Birds of Prey.
This all seems good, right?
Klingon Birds of Prey.
We're starting with Klingons? That seems good.
And this is a scene that totally reinvented Klingons for Star Trek.
Yeah.
The Klingon Bird of Prey, the new look Klingons before they were just
the foreheads.
Before they were just a bit Chinese.
Oh God! Dude.
Now, no, they were.
I know.
But here's we get the turtle head.
That was actually a cool shot too.
Oh, it's
on the head, and then
to say that this movie doesn't know a good thing when it sees it.
Yeah,
is the fact that we see the Klingons for about 2 minutes. The coolest thing in the movie lasts about a minute, and we never see it again. I mean, yeah, this is the whole kind of prototype for how the Klingons will look until Discovery,
right?
When they fucked up the look of them again, made them all look like LL Cool J. I mean, I'm loving looking at all these sets and these models and the costumes and the makeup, but you're getting the sense already this movie's going to take its time. Because they're looking out of the spaceship. We see the spaceship moving.
Good looking shot there, though.
So good.
I just wish it was 90 seconds ago.
and like any movie, science fiction movie at the turn of the 80s, you can only envision future technology as a computer game.
Yes.
It has to look like a video game. That's all we think the future's going to look like. We're going to be living in a video game. Did you know who that is? The Klingon commander? Or the Klingon captain? That is, oh God, what's his name? I should have put IMDb up. Sarek. Mark.
Who?
The man by forgetting his name, I am going to put a Trekkie fatwa on me.
They're gonna be upset with you.
Oh my God!
I know that.
Now he was Spock's dad. He was Mark Leonard.
Oh, okay.
So he was Spock's dad. He also played a Romulan in the original series. There's an extra from Moonraker just still floating about space.
Right. Well, I do know that I think it's When We're on Earth or in San Francisco. There's some portion of the beginning of this film where a large number of Trekkie fans are extras.
Presumably because they would do it for free.
Right.
This is the USS background actor. Also known as the US Columbia. That is freaky. Whatever you're doing now, moving your chair up and down is like, it looks like you're it looks like you have a hover chair on the
trying to get a better
Enterprise.
View.
Yeah. So basically, Mark Leonard has played a Vulcan, a Romulan, and a Klingon in Star Trek. If he played a Ferengi,
well done.
If he ever played a Ferengi, he would get like the Star Trek equivalent of an EGOT. But alas, it never happened.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. So the Klingons.
That didn't work.
The Klingons are. Do we? I mean, retrospectively, we know what this is all about, but is it even clear? I mean, a lot of time has been taken to show us this, but it just looks like they're firing randomly into space.
It seems like some sort of electrical storm fart that can disappear your ship. Oh, it's heading for Earth, all right.
We may reuse this for Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Exactly the same. Yeah. And his Spock's on the concept art of Vulcan.
Yeah, not only is he on there, but it doesn't seem like that's a breathable atmosphere.
There is something in the mythology about
even for a Vulcan,
the air being thinner on Vulcan.
Is that lore?
I think so. I think it's in a mock time. The
The
episode where Spock's Randy.
That rock looks like it's a King Louis rock.
This is my first imbas. This is my first it must be a sequel observation.
Go.
It must be a sequel because the cast of the original are returning with different hair. We've never seen Spock with like shoulder length hair before.
We've never seen him with surfer bro hair. I'll tell you that much. I want him to catch a tube.
Now, if this Vulcan puts this logic necklace on him,
that costume looks like it's born out of Star Wars. She looks like a reverse Darth Vader.
Now, this is a great moment because if Spock had let that other Vulcan put the logic necklace on him, he ceases to be Spock. Because then he'd be pure logic. He wouldn't be like the.
He wouldn't be the.
Oh, Vulcan mind meld.
Yeah, but get it.
They're cranking out the greatest hits very early.
Right.
We've seen Klingons and a mind meld, and we're about 9 minutes in. You've got nowhere to go, have you?
4-hour movie.
You've got nowhere to go after that. I feel like whenever we do like a mind meld or a
it touches your human blood.
You have not achieved Kolinar.
It's a shame.
You human scum.
You piece of human shit.
God, they're more racist to him than Bones is.
Right?
Like typical human. San Francisco. Yep. And this is a good move.
So yeah, I think maybe in this area is like nothing but Trekkies.
I like that, this is again something they couldn't do on the TV series, so it's good that we see Starfleet San Francisco. There he is.
Yep. Fucking pointy sideburns.
Yeah. Now, so he's appointed an Enterprise science officer who's a Vulcan. This is the first sense I get that we're still working from that script that Spock's not in.
Whereas he's not in it.
Because they're about to replace Spock, as they nearly did on the TV show. They nearly replaced Spock midway through the TV show.
It's good to know escalators still exist.
I mean, I know energy is a problem, but why is anyone not transporting everywhere?
Right.
Oh, and he's that's like a Spock clone in a movie that has Spock in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just interesting. I'm trying to think of like equivalents of that.
This actually looks good. This is a good effect.
I think it's when people start to get introduced into the equation that it goes tits up. Sorry, star tits up. There's just, what I don't understand is why there are all these astronauts floating around everywhere. Like, this seems dangerous. They're awfully far from these ships and stations. How do they get back? So the majority of this movie so far and from now on will be spaceships docking and landing.
Yeah, for a while now it's going to be that.
Scotty and a transporter.
That was the best take.
What are you referring to Kirk like
Yeah.
just walking out of the transporter?
Admiral. Oh, Scotty.
This is interesting because this is really privileging the fanboys, because they go straight back and like no, but they don't explain to newcomers what the relationship between these two men is.
No.
They just go straight into the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like, hey, you either know or you don't. Oh,
here we go.
This shuttle is piloted by a photograph of Kirk and Scotty. Just a photograph.
Look at that floating body.
That guy's in trouble. Why is no one helping that astronaut?
Yeah. He needs help. And they all have vampire hair.
Yeah. Well,
they all have vampire sideburns.
And
they all decided to go Vulcan on that.
Scotty has a mustache as well, so there's another hair change. It's like they just kind of guess who'd themselves. It's like, is it Scotty with a mustache? Okay, do.
Oh, gentle squeeze.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, they hated each other, and I don't think Doohan would have been happy about Shatner trying a Scottish accent in that scene as well.
So now, did they, because most people, I think, know, more about, him and George Takei hating each other.
Oh, I think it was even worse with James Doohan. But a lot of people hated Doohan. Like, it wasn't just Shatner.
Well, I was just going to say, did anybody like Shatner?
I think him and Nimoy got him pretty well.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just out of necessity. So this is like, we're
going to watch this for about the next 50 minutes.
Yeah, so... the reveal of the Enterprise is like pure spaceship porn. It keeps cutting back to Kirk and Scotty, like, coming in their pants. This kind of sexualized male gaze at a piece of fucking space
hardware,
space car, basically.
They're gonna pull a Giuliani. You're gonna see them with their hands in their pants.
They're literally the shots like linger over the exterior of the Enterprise like it is a woman's body in a Hollywood movie. Oh my God. Where is this shuttle going? Why is it going away from the Enterprise to get to it?
It's going around the scaffold and coming back? Is that right?
Well,
it's just going out into outer space.
It's going away. I have a theory. You know who was a consultant on this was Isaac Asimov, and I bet any time that they were like, okay, so we're just going to take the shuttle straight to the Enterprise, he'd be like, no. Orbits don't work like that. You got to go around and back. It's like, that will add 5 minutes to the movie. It's like, hey, you hired me. You asked for my opinion. So yeah, they go away from the Enterprise to get back in there.
Yes.
And they're only
all these other ships, meanwhile, all these other ships seem to be moving with a lot more purpose.
Everyone's moving fast except anyone related to the Enterprise.
I'll tell you one thing. Right now, this is just Star Trek, the slow motion picture.
Nice. There's that photograph of Kirk and Scotty piloting the shuttle. Shatner's making a face like he's going to get in a spacesuit and dry hump the fuck out of the saucer section.
No, he's making a face like he's cashing a check right now.
What gets me is like they should have done this later in the movie because this is a perfect piss break.
A perfect what?
Perfect piss break. But it's like 15 minutes in the movie. It's too early for a piss break. But if you put this like right on the hour, everyone would be like, especially
Let's
after
go.
like an hour of knowing how long landing and docking takes.
Yes.
You'd be just like, fuck it, great, perfect piss break time. I mean, prior to this recording, you described the entire movie as a piss break.
I'll tell you, they seem to get
not
one
even
thing.
Close. Not even close.
Wait, they're behind it again.
That's true. How did they get behind it?
How did they get behind it again?
They were face on and now they're behind it. I swear, Asimov is like, sorry, the trajectories wouldn't work like that. And
are they actually not trying to get to the ship? Like, is this an inspection? Are they checking for structural damage on the outside?
They are quite literally taking the scenic route.
Look at that. Look at how much Captain Kirk is a cardboard cutout right there. That is fantastic.
He looks like Flat Stanley in that shot.
But when I rewatched this, like this was the part where I was like, oh, you want to be 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I mean, how is that shuttle not a dick going into a vagina? Seriously.
Oh, it is.
I mean, there's no
ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Especially the way that they're looking at it, how long we've been like eroticizing this. And but story-wise, this all happened because the transporters aren't working. So they they purposely broke the transporters. So they'd have to do that journey. Yeah. Otherwise, they could just beam.
Yeah, of course.
Beam over.
Now what's he doing? That was alarming. Do you know who that woman is?
Which one?
The Asian woman?
No, tell me.
That is Mako's sister.
Oh. Chaos on the bridge. You're welcome. Quite literally.
Yeah.
I really like this. I like the fact that when he gets to the bridge, it is not this serene place that it was under his command. That it's like basically since he's not been there, everyone's just fucking around.
Somebody check on this guy's forehead.
You've got a bad case of the space mumps. Uhura's sporting a Pam Grier afro, which is lovely. That's a good Walter Koenig wig. Some of his wigs are terrible. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking his robot space dog.
They seem to revere Kirk in that scene in a way that suggested that he could receive oral sex from anybody he chose.
And this is, it's another sequel thing where he's literally retracing his steps from the, this is him retracing his steps of the original series. Yeah. Although it never looked like this. I mean, the original
dilithium crystals.
The original engineering section and the original series looked like a candy bar wrapper. This is much more involved.
So apparently, many people auditioned for the role that Stephen Collins, and he had never seen the original series, so he was not intimidated by any of these people. He could care less.
I really feel for Decker here. It's such a dick move, strong-arming his way into the command of the Enterprise again.
Right.
With no real story reason to do it. Good question, Deco. Why?
The screenplay says so.
I love the fact that, you know, when they ask, why are you taking over the Enterprise? And he basically says, because I was in Star Trek. I was the captain on the TV series.
And you weren't. Guess you got your way. Yeah. Report to the bridge, dickface.
I mean, there's no way to sympathize with Kirk's position.
But at least there's a human element there.
Oh, it's a great scene.
What's that? Yeah.
It's a great scene, played really well, but how are you supposed, you know, Kirk's supposed to be the hero here. And he's Oh, here we go. Transporter freaks. There's Yeoman Rand in the transporter room.
I'm glad we took that 45-minute ride, Scotty. Otherwise, this could be us.
Yeah, the transporter freaks. This is what happens to Spock's clone. He's one of the people who get killed in the transporter, which is obviously Roddenberry's most his best idea for how, having invented a character who doesn't need to be in the movie, we get rid of them by horribly murdering them in a transporter.
Oh, that was a shame. Oh my God.
A little bit of, I like that there's a little touch of horror.
Yeah, that was heartfelt.
And Yeoman Rand can't even look. So this actress playing the blonde actress in the middle, she was in the first few episodes of the original series and then written out. And this was Roddenberry's apology for putting her back in here.
I read about that
because he thought he'd made a big mistake.
And it was actually very emotional, and it was William Shatner, I believe, who really went to bat for her and tried to, like, she makes appearances in several of the other movies too.
Yeah, and she was supposed to have a love story with Kirk.
Yeah.
Which you can sort of see the remnants of here. I mean, you would if Shatner was putting in. You would if Shatner was putting any effort in. You would see that they had a previous relationship. Mind you, he has just seen, you know, a couple of people morphed into monsters. So I don't blame him for being a little.
Well, I was going to say that briefly, it looked like the people in the transporter blue column beam looked like that we were going to have two more forehead guys.
What if they made it through and everyone just had to get used to them being on the it's like, yeah, that's right. Let's go to warp speed. Very, very good, helmsman.
We created two. We created two more elephant men.
Maybe that's what happened to that guy's head on the bridge.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
This is a bit Spaceballs, making them watch the beginning of the movie,
right,
on a TV screen. But I got to tell you, I mean,
also it's the Klingon. They should be reveling. They should love this.
I've been watching a lot of the original Star Trek TV series recently, and I can't think of any other show where people watch TV on TV as much as that TV show. Aside from those shows which are about people watching TV, like Gogglebox or The People's House, it's just like it is a guy sitting in an armchair watching TV in space. Oh, that's my second imbas. We're replaying footage from earlier in the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
It's weird how everyone has like a black hole on their
I was just gonna
headrest.
say, why does everybody have a beltless buckle?
It's exactly what it is. My theory again is that weirdly, because of Shatner's weird body, he looks the best he looks in this, and everyone else just has to like deal with it.
Right. As I understand it, it's supposed to be a biometric thing that sends shit to the hospital bay. But
Was
it
that
just draws attention to everybody's crotch.
Was that covered in another book?
Wait, where are we now? What's being eaten now?
We're back on the USS background actor, aren't we?
Is this the scaffolding that was housing the?
There's another astronaut loose in space.
Yeah, right. I'm out of here.
If only this movie would move faster, I might survive this. No, that's on the USS Columbia.
Okay.
So that's somewhere else in space. That's where the movie started, and we've literally gone nowhere.
Viewer off. Turn that off. Well.
Yeah. So he's been on the ship, May 5 minutes. How many people have died already as a result of him arriving on the ship? Everyone else is like
guy.
It's like forehead guy, yeah. They're gonna have to change that, 100 days without a horrible death.
Yeah, day one. Ah, shit.
This is look at Shatner's. Look how good that belt looks on Shatner versus everyone else. It's got to be the reason that everyone had to wear them.
Heyo.
Everyone reacts as if this is Cameron Diaz in The Mask.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big star entrance.
Now, if memory serves, isn't there something to do with she is too sexually powerful?
Are you just saying that as a bald person?
I mean, literally, for what is she, a Deltan? Is that what they called her?
I don't know the backstory of the Deltans. The way that Uhura says it, yeah, I think it's implied that it's the thing where everyone is looking at her like this woman is the next Audrey Hepburn, basically.
Well, Deltans, I think, are supposed to be highly sexual, and they like you can't survive having sex with them. Oh, Bones!
Disco Casual Bones!
Look at that.
This is what I'm dressed as. Disco Casual
I'll
Bones.
say.
And, this is the best
I don't
example.
believe for a second that's a real beard.
What, mine or his?
His.
I want to know what Bones was doing when they beamed him up.
Right?
Because he is in a thick dressing gown with a medallion.
He was competing with John Travolta in local dance competitions. Oh, I thought he was asking for his lunch money. Get out of that bathrobe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a
It's another
top
way that
nurse.
Roddenberry gets himself into the movie is through marriage.
Right.
As Chapel, played by his wife Majel Barrett, is such a big part in this movie. Yeah, another character returning with a different hairstyle. But it seems like so Bones is retired and he's called back through a like technicality into service. Was he working as like a pimp in the
think
meantime?
so. Yeah.
Why is he dressed like that? No one else is dressed like that.
Oh, I'll maneuver my thrusters. Don't you worry about that. And make sure you turn on all the lights.
Turn on all the lights in the universe. They revived.
Hit that last little shuttle.
And again, it's that sort of bringing in an actor from the original series, and I cannot tell you how insane that looks with your virtual background.
Hey, this guy's so happy to see you guys go.
I can't believe we're gonna go through all this again.
Take me with you.
All this again for the liftoff.
So if you're watching along with us, everyone, you might want to go to the bathroom or take a nap or make yourself a 4-course meal because you'll have the time.
They fetishize every element of launch protocol. And it's like 10 years after the moon landing, so that's no excuse. And I'm going to talk about that last scene. Oh, well, that's a little briefer than before.
I have to admit, that was quicker than I thought or remembered.
No, well, and we're back.
You haven't escaped us yet, Gene Roddenberry said, or I guess Robert Wise said.
I think Bones brings like much needed energy and wit back into the movie. Into the movie. He says, why is any object we don't understand called a thing? He has a great joke about Vietnam being drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And Shatner's like, I need you. Which translated into sequelese is like, you're part of the original cast, so
you have to go.
You have to come. Oh, there's Robert Wise trying to be Hitchcock with an overhead shot.
There you go.
That's what he brings to this movie. Pale imitations of better directors.
You can't go giving Robert Wise that much shit. No. It's not. Don't we have a Christmas moon coming up?
Christmas moon?
Yeah, like Saturn and Jupiter will be sort of right over each other in a way. Or Christmas
you're not talking about in the Trek verse.
No, I mean in real life.
Oh.
Christmas star. Why wouldn't we have full work capability? We just fucking left.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. She's the science officer. So she's another Spock replacement.
How many science officers are on this ship? Not as much as these jammies do.
I have nowhere to put my medallion. You're being a dick, Jim. You're being a dick, and everyone knows it.
These look like Oompa Loompa outfits.
They really do. Or like off-duty stormtroopers. Just for those watching along, Sulu just said accelerating to warp 1, which I understand is as slow as you can go in warp.
But is still somehow dangerous. That might tear the ship apart. Was that their warp speed money shot?
Warp speed, and now they're in a wormhole.
Wormhole. We traveled for 2 seconds and went into a wormhole? Was that supposed to be his seatbelt?
And it's like all space travel in this period of media exists in this graphical triumvirate of Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars. It's like they just borrow images from the other.
Oh, man.
And this is the beginning of like Star Trek's obsession with wormholes. They're like the MacGuffin in at least 2 different Star Trek series.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just say, you want to hear something really funny about this movie and its pace? Apparently, this movie was 10 weeks behind schedule before it even started filming its first shot.
I well believe that.
And my voice.
So that for those of you watching along, the wormhole is making them all move and talk in slow motion, which when your pace is already very slow, it's a very dangerous thing to do a time distortion piece of shtick, I think. I love Chekhov.
Man, we should have told people to eat some mushrooms before this scene.
Yeah, and there's a scene later where the crew are reacting as if they just dropped acid before they're seeing everything as well. This movie literally could not be going slower than it currently is without being a photograph. So they're going through the wormhole. Time is slowing down.
I'll say. So's my patience. Oh, wait.
How did they come up with this idea? It's like, when we fire torpedoes at thing like in the TV series, well, what if that lasted the length of a TV episode?
Right. Star Trek The Motion Sickness picture.
It's very good. Keep them coming.
Yeah, I know. That's why I smiled.
We've gone literally nowhere. Nothing has happened.
What pieces?
So what Mr. Scott is reporting is that we were trying to move this movie too fast. So now we have to go slower than we were going before.
We gotta rein it in a little bit. We gotta just slow our roll. Hang on.
We tried to accelerate to warp 1, and that was too fast.
And it was too much.
Sure.
Let's all lay on this bed in our jammies.
Because you're out of your depth.
Because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
And this is where I start to see a lot of the next generation. Decker. He's even called Will Decker, and he is like the prototype for Will Riker for Jonathan Frakes.
I was gonna say he's
he's the number one. He frequently knows more than the captain. He's more practical. He'll take on his captain. He's great. Stephen Collins is great.
Yeah.
It's a travesty what they do to him in the course of this movie.
Don't throw down spoilers, man.
And this is they do this again in TNG, having like two of the crew being past lovers, Alea and Decker.
Right.
It's Troy and Riker, basically. They are lucky they cast so well, because the writing is sometimes so fucking awful. And yet the actors are always on point.
Mm-hmm. Why won't you look at me?
An obsession. I'd say Kirk's obsession with the Enterprise is shared by this movie, given how long we've been staring at it.
Well, I'll say.
And, you know, DeForest Kelley was always a kind of de facto therapist to Kirk in the original series. But I can see after this, because he doesn't do anything medical really in the movie, I can see why they were let's just get a full-blown therapist character. Like when they go and do TNG, it's like, basically that's what Bones is doing nowadays. I love how, like, Chekhov, they stop talking to him and he's still on the TV screen, and the TV screen is massive. He's like, so can I go?
Am I done here?
Oh.
But again, you know, I mean, this speaks to something we were talking about 20 minutes ago. So it's just retread.
Was it really only 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, it's hard to say. But there are decent ideas afoot here.
Yeah.
The idea of Kirk being behind on the times and like all of that, you know.
Yeah.
There are human elements to the story that work.
It is kind of crazy, though, that, I mean, this was a big problem with Who's in the Shuttle?
Yeah, it's like,
it's a story problem in the shape of Leonard Nimoy. Like, this is like Roddenberry's original pilot for Star Trek has like Captain Christopher Pike like hating the fact that he's the captain of the Enterprise. And here we've got like Kirk like coming to the Enterprise out of his depth and doing a really bad job. And I'm like, Gene, this is not the way to start things. You need to believe in these characters.
Boom.
Spock.
Spock arrives via easy bake oven.
Great. Spock's a dick. Spock's a dick again. Kirk's a dick. Glad
He looks like he's
they're
prepared.
both back on the Enterprise.
Spock looks like he's prepared to do Hamlet.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that once, like, if you see Leonard Nimoy when he's not Spock, he looks his age, but as soon as he gets into that Spock hair, ears, and outfit, he's like a space Ramon.
Yeah.
He just immediately it's like never, you put the right kind of clothing and hair and he's ageless.
Oh man, every time I see forehead guy in the background, I just get so pleased. There he is.
You've all been very kind. The third science officer in this movie.
Right?
There's Majel Barrett, Dr. Chapel.
Yeah.
I'm Gene Roddenberry's wife. It's a nice idea. I like the reset clock idea that he hasn't been on the Enterprise for so long and he's just like back to Spock the first time you saw him in TOS.
There you go.
Because he has to relearn familiarity with everyone. I completely buy that.
Go fuck yourself, Captain.
This is where you need that kind of comic
You
string
maybe should have
music.
held off on making him
Science officer.
the science guy on the deck, Captain.
That look between Bones and Kirk, it's like you really need that TOS comic string underscoring. That otherwise the joke doesn't work. I need to know when to laugh when the comedy is that weak. Oh yeah, so Captain's log. That's the other thing. It's like as soon as they get on the road, as it were, it literally becomes an episode.
Uh-huh.
We get the original series music and the Captain's log. So, you know, I'm not just being figurative when I say it's like an episode of Star Trek extended to 2.5 hours. It literally is. And that was where the episode started. Warp 5. And it only took us fucking half an hour. Well, how long's it been?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was quite a wink, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It looked like he was having a stroke. He winked so hard.
No, that wink was like, I can expose myself whenever I want to wink.
Now, Shatner's dressed as if he's just come from a game of 3D squash on the yet-to-be-invented holodeck. It's like the only person who can like rock that coming back from 3D squash look is Chief O'Brien. Call Meanie. That's his go-to look. Again, it's a girdle-forward outfit.
Oh.
Such a racist. However it's pronounced. There are no bad scenes between these three actors in any of the Star Trek franchise ever.
We need him. That's a little intense, Captain, but you just...
They should have gone with the idea that Decker was doing a really bad job, and that's where I thought they were going when you first see him. Because otherwise, there's absolutely no reason these three people need to be in charge of this crisis.
Right.
I mean, Spock has this kind of connection with the objects mentally, but
I mean, how, what are we, 45 minutes into this movie or something like that? We're just learning it now.
Well, to be fair, he's not been in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
There was that 45 minutes of a different script of the movie he wasn't in.
That he was not in at all.
Where there were not one, but two replacements for his character.
Yeah. Well, also, when Kirk made him science officer, I kind of wanted, our bald friend, what is it, Lila?
Alea.
Alea.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a kind of a shot of her turning around and saying, "What the fuck?"
Well, and again, he not only are there two replacements for Spock, they're dispatched from the movie in exactly the same way.
Right. I like that they were watching a television show earlier of this thing eating ships.
Stop looking at me as if I need to make decisions like a captain and stuff.
Shut your pie hole.
That was a great Shatner redirect there.
That really was.
Yeah. No one does that kind of changing thoughts midstream like Shatner. It's the Death Star.
Dun dun dun.
Fucking might as well be.
Where's the exhaust port?
Exactly. And there is a kind of, in terms of the effects, there is a sort of cynical cash grab sort of side to this. It's like, just give them, hyperspace and that, stuff that looks like that, and we'll make a bunch of money.
Did you know that this movie was the first movie that was like a giveaway thing for Happy Meals at McDonald's? How fucking great is that?
That would only make sense if the original name for Happy Meals was Bored Meals.
Was Bored Meals, exactly.
What's in your board meal? It's a tape of a lecture by Gene Roddenberry about about Earth's future.
Picture of static electricity light. Plasma energy. Like those frosted glasses you used to get at those places when I was a kid, with just with this.
Another reason why it's not necessary to have Spock there if he's just saying unknown. The bald woman can do that. Female Kojak can handle it. Oh, Of course, the only person on the crew getting hurt once again is Chekhov.
Of
He is
course,
this
poor
series'
Chekhov.
punching bag. Someone needs to do a supercut of all the awful acts of physical violence perpetrated on Chekhov. And that's why no one is concerned. It's just Chekhov. We've seen him.
Chekhov's bullshit.
You know, we've seen him in an agony booth.
That feels nice.
I'll just space cauterize this wound.
Good work, Spock.
That's a good Spock. He's gonna do it again. I bet he's gonna do it again. Spock's like, fuck you, my job was to slow down this movie. It was moving entirely too fast.
Mm. Yay.
He said logical. You can see the Death Star.
It's a trap.
Good, I'm glad you're here. They're still calling it a thing, even though Bones gave them shit for it.
Right.
Again, so what's he there for? No one's I need you. I'm not going to listen to anything you say, but I need you.
Bones is like, if you need me, I'll be in the disco room dancing.
I'm auditioning to be the replacement for Morris Gibb in the Bee Gees. That I really love that moment. I remember this moment really clearly because it's Shatner enjoying, as an actor, enjoying saying Kirk's catchphrase, and Kirk in world enjoying saying his catchphrase. And those two spheres come together.
Yeah, they mind meld.
I love that. And I like that they waited this long to have him say steady as she goes, because that is kind of a catchphrase. That's his engage.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. This is where your 2001 comes in, because this is just the Stargate, right, happening right now. George Takei reacts as if like he's on acid when he's seeing all this happen.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make sure we get what they're going through and everybody's reaction to it. Pretty soon we're going to see Forehead Guy's reaction to it.
That's what, again, it's why the movie takes longer than the TV show, because everyone has to get their reaction shot. It's like no more mediums of the bridge. It's like everyone gets their own Norma Desmond.
Yeah. I'd like one of these characters to say, who's playing that music?
Someone's playing the theme from Vertigo. And once again, Spock's job is to say, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure someone less senior could figure that out. Has he already given the order to go the longest way round?
I don't think I've seen it or heard it. Granted, I might have been nodding off. Like we're entering the womb of this thing.
It really does.
Oh, there you go. Exhaust port.
It really does feel like this movie is now happening in real time. Do we really need two George Takei high on acid?
Astonished looks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that a
clitoris.
gong? It's the opening of Temple of Doom. the third George Takei. And he has not changed his reaction.
Nope.
Okay? Here's a rule. Only go back to them if their reaction has changed.
Is different.
There's literally no angle.
I think George Takei is that surprised because they've discovered the clitoris. He had no idea where it was.
Yeah, I'll just mark off the George Takei gay joke on my watch along bingo.
What the hell?
We're going even slower than you thought.
You heard me.
There we go. He said, go close and then go really far away from it.
I'm going to go back to my disco ball.
Let's see this from every conceivable angle.
From every angle. What's that on top of it? A throw rug?
It's one of Bones' medallions. That's why I left that damn thing. This is where I feel like that they're really trying to say, look at this movie, the movie of Star Trek. We see nothing but space because we didn't see enough space in the TV show.
Right.
But it's not it's a bit of a false equivalence because on the Enterprise things were happening. Out in space, nothing is happening.
Oh, Star Trek: The Motionless Picture.
Rule of 3.
Is that Pac-Man over there on the right?
Yep. Reverse angle.
Reverse angle.
What have we? That was just the front.
Why don't you look at what we just passed?
Just flip it in your mind. We don't have to actually see it. We can imagine what this looks like on the other side.
Oh.
It's where He-Man lives.
Yeah.
I
was just gonna say, I expect to see Skeletor any moment.
Well, Frank Langella is in Deep Space Nine.
There you go.
Not as Skeletor.
No.
By the way, Frank Langella once played Skeletor. We should explain that too.
I just assumed that everybody knew that, Tom. How could you not?
I don't know if that Masters of the Universe movie
broke
adaptation
into the consciousness of further generations.
Just for those of you watching along, we're not silent because we're engrossed in what's happening. There is literally nothing to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
We are zooming in on...
I think somebody's smoking pot at the end of this thing.
We are zooming in on a nondescript object that is not getting clearer as we zoom.
For the 11th minute.
You know, normally master shots in movies kind of clarify what we're seeing, but if anything, I'm more confused.
Oh, yeah, what we got here?
It's the egg from Alien.
Egg sacs. It's like round sea cucumbers.
They do. I love how they sort of cut back to the bridge to show Sulu kind of pushing a button. Like,
yeah, but everybody else looks like the cardboard cutouts from their pod trip, just frozen in time.
But again, you know, there's a basic idea in filmmaking that you cut to something
happening,
to an event. Sulu
or
pushing a button. We don't know how this works. We don't know what he's doing.
What if this was just leaving a big fart in the room?
Yeah, the probe that comes on the ship, it makes everything low resolution on the bridge. I look how Chekhov's like, no, I'm not going to touch it. Everything I touch hurts me.
Yeah. They should all have Richard Dreyfuss sunburns.
Yeah. Why is everyone
that? Spock looked like he was holding a Polaroid camera.
Everyone is going like this. Like, what do they think this is? How do they think this is going to help them?
via lightning.
Decker just told Chekhov not to touch it, and then he touched it. Just want to point that out. Oh, Spock just bashes the shit out of the. Oh,
he ruined the Chinese checkers that was on top of that dashboard.
He had like a space epilepsy. Oh, is everyone moving slow, or do we not know? No.
What the hell is that jockstrap all about?
It's difficult to tell whether people are purposefully moving slow or there's just the pace of the film. If I go like this thing won't kill me.
Wow.
And Aaliyah's dead.
Done. Kirk is like, I haven't even had sex with her yet.
Well done, Gene Roddenberry. Well done. I mean, I kind of like the sort of Janet Leigh psycho, Sam Jackson, Deep Blue Sea, giving her such a big entrance and then killing her off, 20 minutes later into the movie. But is that the best use of her? And don't you get the faint suspicion that it's been done because they need her out of the way for Spock to take over as science officer? It's like we got rid of Spock's first recast
in
the the transporter freak. Now we've got rid of his other replacement.
Dude, Scotty's changing outfits. Rockette.
It's almost as if they changed their mind about her star quality as the movie went on. She's gonna be a star. Actually, probably not.
Maybe not. Let's kill her.
That's another I'm gonna start calling them TN pre's of TNGs. What they do to Alea is like a kind of what they do to Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar.
To who?
Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar in the first season of Next Generation.
Don't worry, everybody. Only 2.5 more hours to go.
Geographically, we've gone nowhere, but a lot has happened on the bridge of the ship.
I'll say.
We've just killed.
We're entering either a second or third vagina.
So in the sort of the rejigged version where Decker is the Borg, is Spock saying resistance is futile? Is he kind of pocketing that for later? Yeah. He's like, I like the sound of that phrase. Well, I'll have to remember that when I invent a weird supervillain alien robot thing.
There was something in that line was said, and then it gave birth to the Borg.
Oh, it is? I was joking. That's actually it? That's actually true?
He's going back. Yeah, he wrote a book.
I was making a joke about that line, but good-o. Guess this is beyond parody.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
Stephen Collins sells everything he's doing, but I just want to point out that his position is exactly the reverse of what it was a few minutes ago. He was like, let's be defensive. Now he's saying, let's fire a torpedo at them. Okay, so I don't think anyone is keeping tabs of what draft of the script they're using at any given moment. Yeah, that is very orifice. I mean, Spock even calls it an orifice.
It's looking like a chocolate starfish now. Big butthole.
It really is. No forward momentum, you're telling me.
For you guys and the audience.
Sorry, I just read the minds of the audience.
He's got a real Peter Pan thing going on now.
Suppose they're trying to make him look naval. I don't know. Well, that happens sometimes, you know. Have like a fig or, you know, a bowl of Albran and it'll be fine.
No problem. What you need is grape nuts.
Literally, like the background actors on the crew are looking at each other like, do you know what's happening? Has anything happened? Intruder alert. You have the con? That's another good one.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
She's back from the dead in the shower, just like Patrick Duffy in Dallas. Right?
Yeah. I can't deny it. You're naked right now, so he'll definitely listen.
So they killed off the character and they brought the actor back as a cyborg.
Yes.
Feels like classic Roddenberry. Isn't there like 2 or 3 seasons of TNG where Tasha Yar just keeps coming back for no reason?
I'd like to know more about these random security officers that look like football stars from the 1920s.
I wrote that down. I have a note. I said, why is Ensign Perez dressed in a football uniform? Literally said that. Everyone has come from a sporting event.
He's a pretty stupid security officer. Fucking riddle inside of a
In other words, Roddenberry's like, we'll figure that out in the next draft.
You know when we're going to talk about that? Star Trek 5. When we go to meet God.
I said exactly when I watched this, I thought the same thing. It's like how much Roddenberry hated the Final Frontier, and I'm like, well, isn't it the same meeting God shit as we're doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I know you hate the fact that Shatner took your baby away from you and did weird things with it, but they're your weird things too.
In fact, I was reading that meeting God was one possible screenplay idea for this. So was preventing the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. I mean, they saved the time travel shtick to the fourth film.
Till the fourth one, right?
If at this point you don't know whether,
but it's just funny that those things came out in later movies, in one way or another.
One way or another. I mean, if you didn't know it was going to become a franchise, I would have gone time travel right away.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's the other thing about this movie is when this movie came out, all the stars were like, "Oh, well, we killed it. We're never doing another one of these."
Which sort of would have been, I mean, the sensible thing to do, regardless of whether they were going to come back, is to do what the Star Wars, the J.J. Abrams trilogy is. It's like, let all the original cast slowly die off.
Yeah.
But what they do here is exactly the opposite.
They
kill off all the new characters.
All the new young people.
Who've got a better chance of taking the franchise forward.
I command you to get up inside that woman.
I will now demonstrate on the sources section of the Enterprise.
Wow.
Here's Vija. She does this robot Aaliyah very well. It's not terribly different from the way she plays the science officer, which is a problem because there should be, but she's doing a great job here. If she'd have been given something,
let's get a log.
As a writer, wouldn't you have made it that she was very, very emotional?
Right.
As a person, so that when she became a robot, oh look, there's the opening titles to Enterprise.
There you go.
There's the storyboard for the opening credits of Enterprise with Scott Bakula. And boy, do I prefer this version. Coffee on the Enterprise is still shit. Replicators can't get lattes right.
Football crew behind him.
Mm-hmm. Here's another TN. Here's another TN pre-G. She's Data.
Yeah.
They're just doing Data. They're doing the same thing. A robot discovering emotions for the first time.
In heels.
It's that same feeling that we had of in heels. The same feeling that I had with Holiday Special of like, sadly, this is very influential.
Bow, 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 chicka, bow, bow.
When I watch these scenes and you think like, you go to the trouble of introducing these characters and their relationship. Well, at this point, one of them's already dead. So...
Damn. What?
Wait, that's not my catchphrase. That is logical. It'd be great if Spock just took his head around the corner and went, hey!
Like, hey, that's my thing.
Hey, what gives? Well, he kind of did.
Yeah, right?
You could cut that together as if he's reacting to her saying logical.
These outfits all look like they were given to him by the parents from A Christmas Story.
Vulcan Death Grit on young Frank Zappa.
Boom. Get it.
Sorry, Frank Zappa in a leotard.
Wait.
Now, as I remember it, they put a tiny hat thing on her, and that triggers her memory of her real self.
It was hard to tell if that was a hat or an electrical doohickey. Yeah.
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but if you're completely bald, that may be not the headwear to sport. I cannot use contractions like a certain other Star Trek robot who struggles with emotions. Well,
going for a space. Going for a spacewalk.
This spacesuit contains a television image of Leonard Nimoy. It's the new Nimoy 3000. This is what I mean about the effects are good, but they don't match. His head's too big inside that.
Yeah.
That helmet. Unless they make some reference to the fact that, if it was more concave,
the butthole's contracting. Oh man, they're even calling it the orifice.
Yeah, he called it an orifice earlier as well. There's it's like that shot of the pod in the connecting to the Enterprise. They're not being coy about the intercourse aspect of this. Star Trek Intercourse. That's the next spinoff.
Damn him.
Another Shatner changing thought midstream.
Oh yeah, that was strong.
Well, he went halfway across the bridge before he changed his mind.
Right?
I'm sure you could catch up with Spock if you wanted to and bring him back. He is going slower than wax.
He's just keeping pace with the rest of the movie.
He looks suitably nervous to be going into the space anus.
Yeah. Oh, that was a real 2001 moment.
Yeah. I can't let you do that, Leonard.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Leonard.
He's going into the time tunnel. With James Darren, who was in DS9. It all connects.
Oh, what? Now you don't have a chip. You're really screwed now.
The care that they put into spaceship travel is not matched up with what they do when they're floating around in space.
Yeah, no, not at all.
He just let go of his space pack like it was nothing.
Like it didn't matter.
Pretty sure that's the difference
no way
between
of stopping
you living
yourself
and
right
dying.
now. Apparently.
It's a large colon. I'm in the large colon of the space anus. Let's face it.
Curious. I'm seeing a smaller vagina.
Wow. Could be a sex education
surrounded
class.
By balls.
And there's the cervix.
Yep.
It anatomically it adds up. the more he goes in, the more this becomes less of a metaphor. And there's a woman at the end.
Yeah.
So it is. Sorry, I knocked my microphone. I was so excited about. When was Fantastic Voyage? That was quite a long time before this, wasn't it?
Had to have been, right?
I must try to mind meld with it.
Fantastic Voyage.
It's interesting because in the original, up until this point,
66 Fantastic Voyage.
Okay, so that was like as Star Trek the series began.
Yeah.
Oh, Shatner's TV screen's going to join Spock's TV screen.
Yep.
The mind meld thing is interesting because in TOS it was like a total MacGuffin. Every time they needed story information and they couldn't think of a way to get it, Spock would mind meld with like anything. It didn't even have to be a person. It could be like a wall,
furniture.
Yeah. But after this, they start to pull back on that, and every time you mind meld with someone, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Star Trek 3 is the beginning.
I love that he just catches him in space, and it's.
Yeah, the odds of that are, I imagine, fairly high.
Just stops him.
Just like he's going to float into exactly the part of space that he's flying out. Spock really goes through the ringer in these movies.
He does.
Gets brain damage here, dies in the next one, has to
be searched for.
Has to go through fast puberty in the third one. No wonder he's so happy to swim with whales in the fourth movie.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is preferable to,
all
dying.
the other shit I've been going through.
Do you think there was ever a draft of the script in which he didn't come out of the that it killed him?
No, that's a good question.
Because this would be a good sort of Han Solo carbonite moment to be like, hey, if you want to kill him, you can. If you don't have to.
If anybody suggested it, it was probably Leonard Nimoy himself. You know what you could do? Which is funny because, like you said, he's the one guy we're still seeing in these movies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think a lot of that is the fandom.
Yeah.
It was always a bone of. I didn't mean that as a pun. It was always a bones of contention that that Spock was always way more popular than Kirk with the fans.
Right.
And he was in the pilot, and he was the only thing about the unaired pilot with Jeffrey Hunter that they wanted to keep was Spock. Everything else went. I know that he's like half human, and that's presumably where the emotion comes from. But I always think that later Vulcans, the actors playing Vulcans, don't get the fact that Vulcans do have emotions. They're just repressing them.
Yeah, right.
Like Nimoy always knows when to put a little bit of that in to show you that he's constantly battling those impulses. But some of the later Vulcan characters in Star Trek are just like, it's like watching Ryan Gosling. Like, move your fucking face from time to time, Don't comment on how implausible the plot is in the dialogue. Not a good idea. Don't put that seed in the audience's mind that this is all bullshit. Endor. Send a legion to the sanctuary moon of Endor.
V'ger. What a name.
You've seen Zardoz, right?
Yeah.
And Zardoz was before this.
Yeah.
I think they steal this from Zardoz, but it's not even a good pun. I guess Zardoz is not. We only know Zardoz through Zardoz. It's right, not like
I was just gonna say.
I may be giving the movie with Sean Connery in a diaper too much credit.
A little too much credit. V'ger expects an answer. An answer?
Robert Wise is like, Will, stop saying the person's line back to them before you say your line. That's not how acting works. She does have a good skull. I could look at her skull all day.
Oh yeah.
I guess that skull works. And you do. And you do. Literally all the live long day.
All damn day.
I'm a little disappointed that the machine planet just looks like Earth. I know that that's what it's doing. I know that's the point. But I'd like some graphic representation of it being a machine instead of a...
You want it to be like one of those globes that are like raised, where the land looks raised on the globe, kind of a thing?
Yeah, and then you open it up and there's a full bar inside.
Yeah. Why? No, he's gonna rub a nipple and see what that does.
Persis is like, I need some personal distance, William.
So beat it?
Yeah. Did you know?
Know what?
When you listen. That was you guessed it. You guessed Bones' reaction. You're like, what would Bones say in this situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Sadly, Roddenberry is thinking no differently than that in writing the script.
Yeah, it's the same.
So Vija, if you want a TNG equivalent of Vija, he's Wesley. It's this fucking precocious child who knows too much and shouldn't be on the bridge at age 10 or whatever the fuck his age is. Sorry, Will Wheaton. I think you're a very good actor.
Hell yeah.
I think you got sold down the river by Roddenberry trying to put himself on TV. It'd be great if that guy with the big forehead leaned in and said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'll go. I'll get in the spacesuit and go into the anus.
You handle it. I'll be on deck 5 if you need me. Bones, can I use your disco room?
That would be the ultimate post-credit sequence for this film. We go to like a discotheque with one big-headed guy going like this. And then Wrath of Khan could have begun like that.
Yeah, right.
I'm back on the Enterprise. Who the fuck's this guy?
Where is he? Where's Forehead Guy? I don't see Forehead Guy.
You think their logic is leave the big-headed guy on the bridge and maybe his forehead will take the brunt of the attack? Not fast enough. I'm glad Kirk and Spock are filling in the gaps here of what's going on.
Right.
Because I couldn't figure it out.
She's going to turn around and show her butthole. Yeah, it doesn't look like I was too far off.
That's imagistically that's happening. Presumably she can. Does the space anus control her, or does she control the space anus?
That's an interesting question.
It's the age-old question. Older than time itself.
Cut to a 5th grade classroom. Some teacher just looking at a kid. But do you control the butthole, or does the butthole control you?
That would be literally. This would be the best film ever made if it ended by cutting away to a sex education class, and the teacher's like, and that is how babies are born. And then the kids are like, I have so many questions, Mrs. Jones. I have so many questions. No time. And then it just goes credits.
Yeah, roll. $57. No,
That's
27.
That's not. Oh, he said 27.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's probably the amount of time left in the movie, right?
No, there's probably an hour and 27 minutes left.
Is that him shouting out how long the movie's gonna last?
It might be. We're right around there, right? I bet this feels like there should be.
The rest of the movie's in real time, is what they're telling us.
Yeah.
Except normally when they do that in a movie, it's like a bomb and it's 5 minutes, not 27 minutes.
It feels like there should be 20 to 25 minutes left. So my guess is there's 40 to 45 minutes left.
Right. They still have to go to Vija, don't they? And I assume that's going to take a while, based on prior experience,
on everything that's happened so far. Yeah.
If they have to just get from that to that thing that you can see on the TV is probably like a meter away. Yeah. That's going to take. They're going to have to. Asimov will come in and go. No. You're going to have to go around the planet 4 times to build up momentum to go 1 inch.
Well, I want you to go around the back of it and then come around the other side. Leave it by.
This was when they knew Asimov had dementia.
Then turn around and come back.
Asimov discovered his own dementia while making this movie. Oh yeah, and then that's right. They just walk out.
Wait, again, yeah, they're just walking out, no suits.
This is another thing. It's like in the big scheme of Star Trek, whenever anyone just walks out of the Enterprise, it's always a big deal. It's always like something we never do in the show. I think at like the beginning of the second season of Voyager, Janeway's like, we should just land the ship and get out and walk around.
Yeah. And another costume change. They're all dressed like Native Americans.
Well, again, they're changing into outfits that are worse for what they're doing than the ones they were wearing before.
Let's get the tan ones with the big pockets.
What the hell is that outfit going to protect them from? They look like they're going to go to like a painting class.
Certainly not plasma energy.
It might protect you from like your wine glass splattering on you in a painting class. That's about.
Yeah, exactly. They all look like that painter guy that Christopher Lloyd played in when he was guest starring on Cheers.
That is a deep cut, but I deeply appreciate it.
That's a deep cut.
But yeah. But not for me. But you know,
fan. Yeah, right.
Obviously not for me. We're doing this.
No, sure. Obviously not for you. Look at the way you're dressed.
Right. I am a man who has noted the appearances of Christopher Lloyd in Cheers.
My God, I'm tired. Oh, I forgot. This is a whole Voyager thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what V'ger is. V'ger
Yeah.
is a clever play on Voyager.
Oh,
And by clever
man.
play, I mean they took a couple of the fucking letters out.
Damn.
If you've been what like 40 minutes waiting to see what's inside this planet, and it's something that you could
Yeah, why don't you
see.
take off a few more letters? Like he just happened to scratch off B, G, E, and R.
I mean that would be like me. Historically, that would be like me remembering the name of like a minor Civil War battle or something, right?
I don't
Be
know.
like,
Wouldn't it be more like knowing, you know, the Santa Maria?
but it's not like this probe went anywhere and did anything. They just lost it.
What are you talking about? This probe brought Jeff Bridges to the planet. Another deep cut. Who's playing along?
Let me give you a clue. Waiting in the sky.
Man, she wants to get it on.
So it's a let's say it's an old probe is the twist. It's an old probe. It's an old probe, but it checks out. I was about to clear them.
I was about to clear them.
Wrong franchise. Again, Kirk and Spock are doing the heavy lifting on the rationalizing the story.
Yep.
Did you see? I mean, there's plenty of Star Trek episodes that go this way that have similar kind of like a lost probe in space, lost computer in space. But I remember when I saw this, I didn't see it coming. I think more out of like, that's what it is. I mean, more like a kind of like in a disappointed way, like.
Yeah, it's
that's
more,
what you've been chasing this whole time.
That's what you've been doing this whole time.
But I guess that's effective as a twist because you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that should be easy to find.
Yeah, no problem.
Jesus Christ.
While you're at it, can you find me some old episodes of Alf?
Yet another show cancelled unexpectedly.
Right.
Leaving with that ended on a cliffhanger of whether or not Alf would be dissected by NASA. Did you know that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, so they canceled Alf at the end of a season that was like where the finale was the first of a two-parter, and the whole the cliffhanger was Alf has been found by like the government and they're about to dissect him. And presumably it wouldn't have happened and he would have been rescued at the last minute. But as far as we know, that was Alf's fate.
While you were just talking about Alf, we missed a part here where Shatner declared himself as the creator, which I think is fantastic.
Which is where
he says we all are.
That's where he got the idea for Tech War, I think.
Yeah. But that's just so Shatner. I'm the creator.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it fits in with Roddenberry's whole kind of atheistic take on science fiction, where he's sort of like, well, God could just be anyone. But again, it's the final frontier. Why would God need a starship? I can't believe that this podcast contained you saying the words while you were talking about Al.
I think that makes total sense to me. Did he just check his watch? Did he come, Jim?
If ever there was a movie in which you could get away with checking your watch, it's this one. Like Fred Willard in For Your Consideration.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comic moments in any film. He's hosting like an Entertainment Tonight type show, and while the other character's talking, he checks his watch. R.I.P. He was one of the greats.
Love him. Love him.
Speaking of Willards, it's Decker. About to sacrifice himself.
Yep. He wants to be with his lady.
So that Kirk may be captain of the Enterprise, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, make no mistake. Kirk is going to let him do it.
Yeah, sure, do it. Yeah. Good idea. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. At least I won't have to have private meetings telling me that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
At least I won't have my first officer saying, "You're wrong. You don't know what you're doing."
You're too old.
Kirk's like, what V'ger needs?
Unfortunately, you don't seem very human right now.
Is a tall man with blonde hair and a side parting,
blue eyes,
and a problem with his captain,
and a butt chin,
who's recently been demoted from the captaincy of the Enterprise. Decker's like, yeah, I would have done that too in your position. Yep. I would have fucking force lightninged him away. I want to die and not be in this franchise from now on. That is my reward.
I was just going to say, that's my reward.
If this is what these films are going to be like, I would rather just die here and now. I mean, for me, I'm thinking, why the fuck are we killing this character now? Why the fuck are we doing that? You've got a great performance, a great character.
See, they don't even have to hold him back anymore.
Yeah, there's no. Oh, it looks like he's gonna quantum leap through time. He's gonna quantum leap through time, putting right what once went wrong. He's even got
Stockwell. No, she's gonna join him. Get in the shower, honey. Join me in the shower.
Do you think once that they called cut on this scene, Shatner turned around and said, "That's what we do to people who try and replace me."
This is what happens.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you fuck a Shatner in the ass.
And the next time I tell you to come to the Enterprise, Bones, you come clean shaven and without medallions, ready to work. Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
Let's get. Well done, Kirk and Spock are back on the Enterprise, and all they had to do was ruthlessly murder their replacements.
Star Trek, the emotionless picture.
Mm-hmm. I thought that would be the last one.
Yeah, I went to 4. I shouldn't have, but I did.
Glad we, yeah. I mean, it's very much, yeah. It's like they are getting in the way of getting the old gang together. So
forehead guy.
Wait, are we talking about the franchise or VJ?
Yeah, what are we talking about here? Anybody want to say a couple of words to the people we just killed? No? Okay.
It's got a little whiff of that Simpsons episode with the Principal Skinner, you know, where it turns out he's a totally different person.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then they legally make it so no one can mention it.
Ever. Tangerian or Tamgerian?
Yeah, Almond Tanvarian, yeah.
Tanzarian, yeah. My favorite part of that is when he's leaving on his motorcycle and he says, Up yours children.
But they bringing the original cast to all be on the bridge at the same time.
Of course. I
mean, at the very least, it's tasteless, considering what's just happened.
Yeah.
Well, if this is what had to happen for us all to get back together, it's worth it.
What can we do?
That man who had half his life left in front of him just died.
Captain's log. He wanted it.
Now,
more than anything he ever wanted.
Have you seen that the Black Mirror Star Trek episode?
Oh no.
So they have like a version of Star Trek there, and their outro is "Let's fuck off somewhere." Like, you know, when they say engage or make it so, it's like, let's fuck off somewhere. What Shatner did then is not that dissimilar to let's fuck off somewhere. You shouldn't be like waving your hand like that. Let's go into the time vortex from Doctor Who.
They should have gone into another wormhole.
And met up with the actual Voyager. It all connects. It dovetails. The human adventure is just beginning.
If you say so.
I like how they're sort of aggrandizing the possibilities of the franchise, but disguising it as like humanity talk.
As what?
They're sort of like they're aggrandizing the idea that this is going to be like a new movie franchise, but coding it as it's about humanity. No.
Nope. This is about a lack of humanity.
There, Isaac Asimov, special science consultant. Why special Isaac. Science?
Wow.
It's like, oh, this sounds like a special science issue. We better get Isaac in. Like, it's like, oh no, this is too much like regular science.
This movie is so very much an episode of Star Trek Like if it was a half hour, you would have been like, okay, not my favorite episode, but fine.
Yeah. It's like a B+ episode of Star Trek,
Right.
basically. Yeah. Yeah. Sadly, that is true. And you know, I understand that there has to be like a transition from one media to another.
Yeah.
But again, ironically, having this like ongoing story through the next 3 movies is a better use of a television narrative.
Right. Yeah.
Than this, which is basically just to say we're gonna do a bottle episode and then surround it by lots of elaborate versions of establishing shots.
Plenty of establishing.
Yeah.
Is this movie bad?
Yeah, I was just gonna get to that now. No.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
It's a bad movie. I mean, again, it's like we're back in that situation where can a cast save a movie, and this is as close to a affirmation of that as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way. Not, I'm sure we'll cover the Star Trek movies, but I kind of feel that way about The Final Frontier as well. As deliciously bad as that is, I'm like, can a movie that begins with Spock, Bones, and Kirk around a campfire singing "Row, row, row your boat" ever be bad?
Well, there's just nothing more comical than like seeing old man Kirk climbing El Capitan freehand, like solo.
Captain Kirk is climbing a mountain. Why is he climbing a mountain?
Because it's there.
Because he can. You know, there's a 24-hour version of that clip. You know, someone turned
the clip or the movie.
So there's a
24-hour version of the movie. No, that would make sense for a William Shatner directed movie.
So there's a behind the scenes documentary about Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, and it's William Shatner giving a monologue to camera about why Captain Kirk is climbing the mountain. And it begins, Captain Kirk is climbing a mountain. Why is he climbing a mountain? And someone re-edited, did a kind of video DJ, kind of VJ version of it, where they kind of overlapped and they kept playing it down, and it has like an electronic backing track to it. And what is remarkable about that is, like, the editing is kind of funny, like the way it puts certain phrases he says together, but the actual unbroken phrase itself is no less ridiculous than what they're making him say by putting the clips together.
Right.
So, like, you will just like cut to him saying, "Strong men with like it's sort of like the actual thing is ridiculous." And then someone subsequently looped it for 24 hours. So you can, it's on YouTube. You should,
oh, wow. Fantastic.
You should all watch it and put it on at night when you're trying to sleep, is what I'm saying.
It's
yeah,
true
no,
purpose.
I mean, we're skirting around it, but I think it's a letdown.
Yeah, for sure.
But as I said at the beginning, I think expectations are set at an unrealistic level in it. I think this movie was kind of
well, yeah, the movie feels like it is the introduction to the television series.
You're absolutely right.
Right? Like
or more existentially, a pilot for a TV
pilot
series
episode,
that
exactly,
would never happen.
Yeah,
like a pilot for a non-existent series.
But it very much feels as though it's an introduction to something we already know.
Yeah, but except that it it doesn't even really work on those terms, because it relies on us knowing the pre-existing relationships and dynamics of all the
Yeah,
characters.
that's true.
So whichever way you cut, but watching it now, I really get the sense that in 1979 they're going, people are gonna be blown away by these effects. We could literally put any old shit up there,
Right.
surrounding these incredible effects. And like, not only is that the, obviously hubris of the highest order, like the lesson of 2 years ago in Star Wars is not you go for the most showy thing in terms of spectacle. It's that you find a way to put it all in the same shot and edit it together. Like that's the magic. But if it looks like a photograph of Kirk and Scotty, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But you don't, at no point in Star Wars are you going, that's a that's a model, or that's on strings, but here I'm like, independently this is all great work, but no one's found no one's found a way for it to mesh.
Yeah, certainly didn't find the alchemy.
But despite that, like when they just focus on character, I mean, the story. I mean, even at that,
so little of that. There's so little of
yeah. I mean, the story doesn't go in
character
the way
in this movie,
and the story, mate. It's like you have a hero whose actions throughout the movie are indefensible, like from beginning to end.
Right.
And you never see Kirk like that again, or you've never seen him like that before. So that's a big problem. But given that the actors have that to play with, they're doing an amazing job, because they are playing that story.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
that's the wrong story, but they're nailing that story. Those
the other
scenes
thing
between
is,
Kirk and Decker are great.
Yeah, because you have Stephen Collins as Decker, and he has this, they have that great scene towards the beginning of where he tells him he's taking over, and that sets something up that is at play but never plays out.
And that's the other thing that reminds me of the Next Generation. It's like Roddenberry's starting to say, well, in this idealized future, people shouldn't be arguing about such trivial things like this. And like, the way that it's sort of like that conflict just sort of disappears.
It just dissipates into nothing. Yeah.
That's Roddenberry saying, it's like, these perfect future people are above all this. And that's where you get into Next Generation. Like, you have screenwriters forced by Gene Roddenberry to remove conflict from a dramatic screenplay. And you're like, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
And it kind of feels that way. And it's such a shame, because like TNG, you have the actors who can do that and still have that camaraderie and that friendship that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a million ways in which Kirk and Decker could have gained mutual respect for each other. But, if you were in Decker's position, you would still think Kirk was as much of a dick as he was when you first saw him at the beginning of the movie.
Sure.
Like, he does nothing to redeem himself.
Nothing to dissuade you from that notion at all.
And also Decker,
in fact, he lets you walk into a light bath of death.
Yeah. And Decker does zero wrong in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, he shows there's no plot reason to ever think he should have been demoted.
Right.
And there needs to have been a moment at which you're like the Enterprise has to be, Kirk has to be captain. Like, there has to be a reason why Kirk needs to be in charge, and we never get there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just sort of like, not only could Decker have done this, he would have probably done it in 40
maybe
minutes
better.
less.
Yeah, right.
And the same with Spock, you know. Um it's just it's really strange, but I just, you know, that what I think is really saves it from being a bad movie is that there is no bad version of this kind of like Unforgiven Wild Bunch getting the band back together movie. I don't think, when you have
Right.
the original actors coming back, um that element of it is always going to work no matter what you put on screen. But it's working in spite of this movie is doing everything to fuck up that perfect formula and recipe for a movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't get there, but I think by the grace of the ensemble, that's the only way that it doesn't
All right.
become that. Yeah, and it's like you're replacing the best cast. Like your two, you know, your newbies are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't leave there thinking, you know, they're not a couple of Wesleys. You're not like, as soon as you can get these people out of here, get them out.
Right.
But another question I had, going back to like what we do on Everything Sequel, is like like ranking. I don't know if you want to think about the big scheme of Star Trek or just the movies, but like, how does this fit in relation to other, without giving away, you know, actual rankings? Where does this tie into the Star Trek movies?
Well,
It's such an outlier. It's so difficult.
yeah, it's so different than all the other movies. I mean, wouldn't you say, well, I mean, how much do you want to give up though? Because we haven't even tackled the Star Trek series yet. So,
No, I just, like, you know, as we did with Star Wars, give some idea of like, if we were doing this, where, you know, roughly in what kind of
to
you know,
me, it seems that,
is it as bad as Nemesis,
well, that
or
was the other thing I was going to
Into
ask you.
Darkness, you know?
That's the other thing I was going to ask you is, do you separate Next Generation from the original series?
Not when it comes to movies,
Okay.
because I think a Star Trek movie is a Star Trek movie. Um, even the
So
J.J. Abrams stuff, I think, is all.
I would feel completely unqualified right now because,
Hmm.
to your point, say like Nemesis, saw it once in the theater and have not seen it since and don't remember a lot. so so to me, I was thinking of the original series, and it would be, is this movie battling with Star Trek 5 for the end of your list, or do you see it higher than other movies other than 5?
Um, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in every phase of the Star Trek movies, I think there's like two absolute standout movies. I'm not going to necessarily say which ones those are. Um, yeah, there's like two absolute masterpieces. So this would definitely be at the end of all of them, but you know, I'd rather watch this than
And you think there's two masterpieces for Next Generation?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I I'm using masterpiece very loosely.
I was gonna say, but
Um, but I think I would let's put it this way: I would still rather watch this than the worst of the Next Generation movies, and definitely than the when the J.J. Abrams ones are bad, they're
yeah.
they're terrible. and I never get that sinking feeling here. But I mean, it's like, if you look at, also interesting, seeing this as a kind of reboot, because Generations is a reboot, and in some senses,
Sure.
and
well, I see
Star Trek
Generations as a bridge.
is.
I see Generations as a bridge in which they didn't really need a bridge, but Shatner still, I think, wanted to be involved. I think that sums up that movie.
I think behind the scenes, behind anything we research behind the scenes would prove that to be true.
Yeah.
However, but I think that's what I think. Again, it's like, I think that's what this movie was trying to do, is kind of like pass the gauntlet from one crew to another. Except it's like if
same crew though.
if in Generations Kirk decided not to die and to push Picard into Malcolm McDowell's, into Malcolm McDowell's gunfire, which I'm sure Shatner pitched that in a meeting.
Probably.
That's why this thing is so weird.
He probably pitched that and then said, then I could sing a song.
Yeah, but I think to me, I like put in those two. While I'd much rather watch this than the worst of each kind of phase of the series. I think it's like, I think Generations, and for all its faults, the Star Trek 2009 reboot are much more interesting ideas about how to restart and reset the clock.
I really like that first movie, that first
I
like
a lot about it. So I think this is the most, like, just as you said, just like doing a 50-minute episode and having lots of space screensaver stuff in between is not as interesting a solution than like finding a way for Kirk to die and Picard to begin,
right? Or
like doing an alternate timeline thing. Is they're more interesting approaches to how do we move this franchise along. That's kind of the way I feel about it. But again, this is the model for Next Generation very clearly, and that has to be acknowledged. It's the same mistakes as well,
sure,
but it's kind of proof that that even if the kind of the model of Next Generation is based on a kind of drama that doesn't really work, though, that Star Trek will find a way to make it work. That was what was great about Next Generation. If they found a way, Roddenberry through all these, this kind of dramatic obstacle course, in the way of the writers, and they found a way to make it work. Partly because it's probably the best cast that's ever been assembled in television, but that's a big part of it. And it's the same here. It's like you have the actors who can save it.
Yeah. All right.
I think so. But it's just such a weird, like, it doesn't fit into any of what came before or what will happen after.
I don't know. It's weird because it's a much maligned film. And whatever, like we said at the beginning, like whatever flack this movie receives, it has earned. But I also don't think it's as it is made out to be.
No, I mean, I think difficult to sit through is a nice kind of compromise in how I would describe it. I mean, I've taken months to watch the whole thing. Like when I'm watching it on TV, I have a DVR of it or a stream copy of it.
And you watch 5 minutes at a time?
Yeah, because I'm just because there's nothing taking me from one bit of the movie to the other.
Right.
Like there's no point at which I can go, oh, I'll watch until this happens. because I'm like, that's still happening, and yet nothing is happening.
I'll watch to the second butthole opening, and
And
then
I think
I'll
even
watch to the third butthole opening.
but I
And
think,
then
you
on
know,
another viewing, the fifth butthole opening is where I'll stop yet again.
but you know, I think and I think they figured that out in subsequent movies, like, you know, Wrath of Khan. I'm like, oh, I'll just wait till Khan comes on, and then I'll go make some food and come back. Or, you know, when Chekhov says "Botany Bay," it's like, okay, that's a good point to start. You know, like they figured out that you need to have these kind of like in a movie, you need to have these kind of like, you know, these things that you have to put a pin in some part of the movie, and there's no pins in this movie.
No,
it's literally, there's like nothing saying this scene has ended and this scene has begun. Whereas, like, you know, in Wrath of Khan, I can think of like 8 moments right now which are just like dun dun dun, like moments. One of them obviously is very famous, obviously Shatner screaming Khan, but you just like wow, you know, this movie has so many moments like that. And I can't think of any in this movie with the, and you know, the ones that do exist there, we've kind of invented, you know, talking about the guy with the big forehead.
Right. Yeah.
That's not something, I mean, from now on, I will look forward to that when I watch this movie because of what we just did. But yeah. I'm not thinking, oh yeah, motion picture, get to see that forehead guy a few times.
Well, on the other podcast, on the How Dare You podcast, I don't think we've started doing it yet. We're, you know, just a couple episodes in. But at a certain point, we start deciding what's the drinking game that goes with this movie. And with this movie, it's Forehead Guy. Forehead Guy makes an appearance.
I was going to say,
take a drink.
I was just going to say the drinking game of this movie is just drinking. Drink whenever you feel you need to.
Well, I did.
Yeah, that's great. I wish I'd had some Romulan ale too, but you know, we don't. Yeah, it's definitely, it's an odd bird, and
to say the least.
I think going forward, you know, that should be part of our selection criteria on these watch-alongs. It's something that is always going to be difficult for people to sit through if they don't have us.
We're here to hold your hand.
Yeah, to kind of, as Kirk would put it, nursemaid you through the movie, but also something that is like a total gray area when it comes to sequels. It's like something that we would never dream of doing on the podcast. But something, you know, that perversely we will happily devote 3 to 4 hours of our life watching frame by frame.
We did it.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
So
I mean, say we did that.
Yeah, and I think we should do these regularly, and I already have an idea what the next one might be. I won't say it now.
All right.
I'm
excited.
I don't think it should be in space, and I don't think it should be from the late 1970s. However, if something in space from the late 1970s,
Moonraker.
If something jumps out at us, we might just do it. But I think probably next time we do this, it'll be something from Earth. But we should keep with that philosophy of this is too unusual to do on the podcast, and it's something that you're never gonna sit through without some kind of hand holding.
Agreed. All right, let's call it a day. I say.
Yeah. Well, that is
yes.
That is, I believe, an entire Earth Day that we've been doing this for.
So at the very least,
calling it a day is not even a metaphor.
I felt like it for sure. All right. For Tom Steward from Lonesome Whistle Productions, I don't know why I'm talking into my microphone. I'll talk to the camera.
It's like when you see when Larry King does TV.
Yeah.
And they put a big microphone in there, and I feel that that's for him. You know what I mean? I feel that that's for his benefit. It's not for our benefit.
Oh man.
We're, as a viewer, we don't care. I think he cares. He needs to know that there's a mic in there.
Oh shit. All right, that was fun. For Tom Stewart from Lonesome Whistle Productions, I am Michael Shantz from the How Dare You Awards. Give it up.
Watch along and prosper.